in imaging. Then I went back and learned again about another year and learned how to do MRI. So I learned how to do 3 different types of imaging. And then as time went on, I went back and I got a bachelor's degree. Instead of a 2-year associate's degree, I got a 4-year bachelor's degree and started running my own one department. And then a few years later, I went back and I got a master's degree. And then I started running an entire hospital of imaging departments. And that's what I do right now. So that's why they call me an administrator, because I don't actually take the pictures anymore, although that's how I started. Now I actually run 4 hospitals, and I run all the imaging that happens at 4 different hospitals. So can I take questions now, Ms. Duddy?
Certainly.
We had a question. Ms. Duddy and I are just looking at the chat, and we're going to kind of field the questions for you, Ms. Bush. But we had a question about whether a CT, a CAT scan, and an MRI are different, or if they're the same thing.
That's a really, really great question, because the machines, like you saw, look very similar. They're actually different. So all of these imaging sections, again, imaging is kind of the umbrella that everyone takes a picture of. CAT scan uses something called radiation. And there's a tube that shines, let's put it this way, it shines a light on the body part that they're looking at, but wherever the light is, that's where the radiation goes. And then it goes through the body and leaves a shadow on the picture. And that's how we see the bones really well. That's what CAT scan does. MRI does not use radiation. It is a giant super magnet. The magnet is interesting. It is 10,000 times more powerful than the gravity that's keeping you on the earth. Wow. That is how strong it is. And that's also why it's very dangerous. Can you think about right now, touch your pockets, your watch, or touch your wrist, touch your ears. Do you have something on you that's metal? I do. I've got a watch on, I've got a bracelet on, I've got a necklace on, my glasses have metal in it, little screws. So if I walk into a magnet with any of these things on, it can actually pull it off of me. But you know what? If I don't have any metal on, I don't feel it. You can't feel it, you can't see it, you can't taste it, you can't smell it. So it's one of those things that it's, because you can't feel it, see it, taste it, or smell it, you have to be very, very careful. And as a technologist in that department, you have to make sure that your patients don't accidentally keep a hairpin in their hair. That's why there's 2 people working on that MRI. But the pictures from an MRI are beautiful because you can see even a nerve, a single nerve that comes off your spinal cord in MRI.
Wow. We also have some people asking, what about if you have braces or something? You wouldn't be able to get one done?
You actually can. There is metal, because look, if you can see, I've had a broken bone before. And so I have pins and plates in my arm, just like if you have braces on you, and they're not going to be pulled out because it's made of surgical stainless steel. So that does not become magnetized. And those are the kind of things that when you work in imaging, you have to know those things. You study really hard so that you know what can go in and be safe and what can't.
Okay. And then we had a student asking also about the salary. And I know you covered that in the last of the slide. If you could just go over that again, that was Miss Aliyah, or Aliyah, sorry.
So in that video, and I'm sure Ms. Duddy could show it to you at the last slide, that is actually pulled from the government website about salaries in Florida. So typically, if you first go in as an X-ray tech, that's usually your entry point into the field of imaging. Remember, imaging is a big umbrella. That's going to be anywhere between $50,000 a year to $57,000 right out of graduation. So the moment you finish your 2 years and you get your certification, you'll be making between $50,000 and $57,000 a year. Now, every time you go back, remember I told you, you start there and then maybe you learn CAT scan. That typically takes about another year to do. Then you might go up another $5,000 to $7,000 a year. So if you look at the bottom, the very bottom one says radiologic technologists and technicians, $57,150 is their annual income. Right now, there are 13,830 people in the state of Florida doing that job. MRI
Is Zoom not
checks,
doing that? Look.
it's three from the third from the bottom, and they're making 63,960 a year right after getting that certification. And then as you do more and more of it, then the hospitals, and then like myself, I started that. I did X-ray for 3 years. Then I went up to CT and did that for 3 years. Then I went to MR and did that for 3 years. And what's nice about it is that every time you're not starting over.
I wonder why everything's made in China. Why? Why is everything made in China? Because United States has sold
You're not
us
starting
our
over when you go
land,
into
even
CT
our
or
own
MRI.
bodies.
You're actually building upon what you already know. So you get credit for all that years of experience as well.
I'm sorry, Ms. Bush. Anthony, I'm going to ask you to mute yourself, please.
Lee, I cannot mute if my computer is going slow.
Okay, but you're interrupting
Why would I want?
our speaker, sweetheart.
Which other?
We're in a meeting right now. This thing is doing too much.
Are there any other questions?
Why she telling me?
Because she's in the same.
Why?
Because we're doing.
I see Dalton's hand up. I don't know if that's a question or not.
Yeah, Dalton, you can turn your mic on and ask a question or type it in the chat.
What if I have like metal plates in my teeth?
It'll be okay. If it's in your body, you don't want it to rust, correct? And
Okay.
And that means it's surgical stainless steel. But that's a really good question. And you know what? It's important that you ask those questions before you have an MRI. If you don't ask, that's when things can be very dangerous.
Okay. I don't think we have any other questions.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Oh,
you so much.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. You did a great job.
Thank you, Ms.
All right. Ms.
So-
Fanning, we have 5 minutes until our real estate agent.
So I was just going to put up our main screen again. So I took back host control really quickly. I also let one more person in. And Miss Duddy, when you're the host, if I'm not the host, if you're the host, you can mute them.
I was trying to, but I saw where it said mute, but it wasn't allowing me to mute the person. So I pushed the person out.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Okay, so let me share
And I'm terribly sorry that I missed the very first part of Miss Bush's video with the recording.
Oh, I know, but that's okay. We got it from here on out. So
Okay.
So we'll have this up next. We have a real estate agent coming in. Let me see. For those of you who have your video on, I'm going to stop your video, okay? Because we're just using the chat, okay? Unless we tell you, you can turn on your mic to ask a question. So we're just using the chat. And who are our real estate agents, Miss Duddy?
It's just going to be Bethany Peters today.
Peters. Okay, so I think she's already in here. I think. Yep, she is. Yep, guys, so if you want to grab a quick drink or a snack or whatever, our next, our real estate agent will be speaking, we'll be starting that at 12:20. Whoops. And Miss Duddy, is there a video for her or is it just the live?
There is, it's a very short video.
Okay.
And then she's going to come on and and talk a little bit more about what she does.
Perfect. Okay, I see we have a few more in the waiting room. I'm gonna let them in, go over that, and then when it's time for her to start, I'll turn the host privileges back over to you.
All right.
Okay, for those of you who are just joining us, welcome. We just had our imaging administrator. You'll be able to see part of that. We started the recording a little late as we were getting settled into things. So if you want to go back and see that, you'll be able to see part of it. But if you're just joining us, yes, just make sure to keep your audio and your video off. Unless you're raise your hand and then you ask a question and we can tell you to pop your mic on. Otherwise, make sure we keep that off so it doesn't interrupt. In just a minute, we are going to start with our next guest, which is a real estate agent. So just hang tight. We had some great questions so far with our first, and we saw that the imaging administrator, for those of you who are asking, Ms. Bush told us they in Florida make anywhere between 50,000 to in the 70,000s. Okay. Another person joining us. Welcome. If you're just joining us, we're going to get started with the real estate agent guest in about 1 minute.
Oh, Renaya Baker's mom does real estate. She's
Yes,
one
I have a couple of students whose
of,
parents
yeah,
do
she's
real
one of,
estate.
she's one of our 5th graders.
Oh, very cool.
Yep.
Oh, Izzy, who's that? Is it a Selena Gomez? Sometimes I get told Selena Gomez. Some of them in Michigan. Bella, yeah, there's imaging administrators and technicians in every state. So there would be ones in Michigan for sure. Destiny, okay, good. Oh, Annie Marks off of Good Girls. I'll have to look her up. I don't know who that is. Izzy, oh yeah, did we already say that Izzy's mom is in real estate? Zoe, you have a friend who does real estate? Very cool. Yep,
Lots of people know people.
mhm.
Yep.
This will be good. Maybe lots of questions.
Okay, well,
Let me turn it back over to you, Miss Duddy.
all right. I know Mrs. Peters is ready to go.
Oh.
So I will do the,
Let me see, stop sharing and there
I
we
think
go.
that nope,
Now I just did it, sorry.
that's okay. Let me make sure I get the right, there we go. And
Oh, we can't hear it.
uh-oh,
No.
let me try to reshare. Let me stop sharing and then I'll try to reshare. Can you hear? No?
It's very low.
Oh.
Hello?
So unfortunately, I guess it was hard to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, Bethany, are you here? You want to?
I am,
Oh, there you are. Very good. Thanks for joining us.
yes. Hi, everyone. Sorry the video didn't come through loud and clear, but it was telling you a little bit about me, how I got started into real estate and where I was in that stage of life. So I didn't do real estate till my children were older. And one reason is I want you to be I want to be very transparent with the fact that real estate is not something that's cut in stone. You really are at everybody else's beck and call. So whenever they're ready, you have to be ready. So I'm grateful that I did it later after my children were raised. Not to say that you couldn't do it as you're raising a family. If you have a great support system and a husband at home helping maybe with the children will make it easier if you have children. But so just to give you kind of a rundown of a realtor's life, we deal with so many different things. So you're working with buyers and sellers. We do showings throughout the day, different times a day, whenever everybody else is ready. Once you have a home under contract with your buyers, you kind of walk them through the process. So I look at real estate like parenting. And so once you have that contract, you kind of take your buyers by the hand, and then we have home inspections, and then we have to have a title search, and you follow it all the way up through closing. And so a good realtor will help your buyers all the way through from start to finish. I really enjoy my buyers. I get to know them. One good thing is when you're working with a buyer, you say, tell me what you need, and you help people with what they need, not what you think they want, but what they need, which is really important. So you kind of help them through that process. And then when people are selling, your job is to kind of go in, and we do in the real estate world what we call a comparable market analysis. And what that means is I'll do like a complete report. I'll take a picture of their home, something that kind of looks like this. I know you can't really see it, but you'll take a picture of their home. I come home and I do my homework, and I put together a complete report. I tell them what I think their home is worth, other homes on the market, and what they're priced at. And then you kind of walk them through the process of helping them price their home properly to get it sold, but also give them the best price they can for it. And so then you kind of sit down and discuss it. And then from there, you could become a professional photographer if you choose. I have a professional photographer come in and take my pictures, because what's really important as an agent is that you have a listing that is worth advertising, and you bring buyers in from that listing, right? So your pictures are super important. So you do nice pictures and a great write-up and a great work on your, whether it's Facebook or your website. Every company has different, depending on where you are in the country too, where people are finding their homes at, right? So technology is changing the way a little bit. And then also technology is changing what we call in our world here in Ohio. We use a program from my company called dotloop. And that's where the technology comes into play, where we can actually now electronically have people sign. We're back years ago, we used to take the contract over, ask them to sign. And I still do that with my people who don't have internet or don't have any access to be able to do what we call e-sign. So that's called kind of dotloop. And then let me back up to buyers too. With a buyer, you also need to help them with a pre-approval letter, with telling them how much they can buy and things like that. So you're kind of, once again, that parenting all wrapped up into one, and you kind of just walk them through the process. And that's what a great realtor does. And I love what I do. And I take great pride in it, and I get to know great people from it. So it is an occupation that's worth looking into. If you're one of those people like me, I get bored very easily. So I like change every day. And that's what I love about being a realtor, is I don't know what's coming. You just get ready for it and be prepared, and always say yes. So I hope that sums up a realtor's life for you guys. If you have questions, I'm open for them.
Awesome. That was very good. Thank you. You told us a lot of great things.
We have a couple of hands up.
Okay.
First, though, we have Dante. You said, do you get paid? Are you wanting to know what the pay is?
Okay.
Or Dante, I'm sorry.
I can go ahead and answer that. if that's, so every home is different. So when you're listing a home, when you list a home, you negotiate the price, what you're willing to work for. And a selling agent actually pays a buying agent. That's a little confusing, but I work for a company, and we have a set price that we have to work for. And then that percentage, let's just say for easy math, is 7%. Is what I will list a home for. Okay, then that 7% is written into the contract, but whoever brings the buyer, I could bring the buyer, but if I don't bring the buyer and another agent does, then I have to share some of that 7% with the company that brings me the agent that brings the buyer. So it depends on what company you work for. Those are all different and negotiable. Some companies will reward their agents and give them a little bit more after they sell 1 million or 2 million or 3 million, depending on what their company cap is. So it really is different across the board. And when you look at a real estate, if you're becoming a real estate agent, look at different companies to see what they have to offer, not just the percentage, but also the tools that they have to help you be successful.
Wonderful. You answered Dewan's question exactly, because he asked what percentage of the
Okay.
house would you get paid? And Izzy's grandmother is a real estate agent, and her name is Dewana Jin. Do you know her?
I do not. I do
Okay.
not. In Ohio?
I don't know. But some other people said they have family in Ohio. What part of Ohio do you live in?
I live in Northeast Ohio, about 45 minutes south of Canton. I want to tell the kids too, another thing they need to take into consideration. I am in Ohio, but you guys are probably from all over. I'm not exactly sure where y'all are, but all states have different real estate license. And we have reciprocity is a word that where I live in Ohio, but I could go to, I believe, 7 other states and work as a real estate agent, just have to pass one test, which would be their state test. So that's another thing. If we pack up and you move, you could actually take your license with you or take another test. So good to know.
Okay. Yes. Do you travel a lot? Zoe wants to know.
I do. I put a lot of miles on a vehicle. So Ohio rules and regulations are I can sell any home in Ohio. So if you're going to be a successful realtor, the word no should never come out of your mouth whenever somebody wants to see a home or help you sell the home. And you can also refer to a professional in that area if you want and get a referral fee. But I have the capabilities of taking care of those clients. So I take them up on that and I take care of them myself. But you can refer it out if it's too far to travel. But I typically put on about 50,000 miles a year on a vehicle.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of traveling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Aiden and Nyla have a really good question. They want to know if you have to take a test in order to be able to sell houses.
Yes. So in real estate license here in Ohio, you have to pass a state board and a national test as well. So you have to get so many hours in for testing. You can go to in-house to an in-classroom and sit down and take it, or do it online. I personally did it in a school setting.
Very good.
We have a couple of hands up too. Ethan, did you want to go ahead and ask a question? You can turn your mic on.
I just want to ask if a real estate agent requires any job experiences, and if so, how much?
So to get experience as a real estate agent, you could go to an agent that's very successful, is what I would tell you, Ethan, and shadow them. Say, can I follow you for a day or so? And just take a kind of a seat next to them in their car and go with them for a day and see what their life entails and if that would fit something that you're interested in. But that's how you get experience. There is no really job experience unless you're shadowing a real estate agent. If you find somebody or you have a friend or family and that is doing real estate, most agents are willing to offer that, to let you go with them for a day or two, and that's called job shadowing. You could do that at any occupation almost, but I would recommend it before you take the time for schooling.
Very good. That sounds like would be a fun day.
We could have a field trip to Ohio.
I think I might have to do that sometime.
There you go.
Can I shadow you?
Sure. We got an appointment at 4:30. Can you be here?
My husband has my jet right now.
There you go. There you go. So that's the thing, you got to be ready to move whenever somebody calls. And they're traveling 2 hours, and so schedules have to line up. So I sell here at a lake, and so when lake houses come on, they move quite quickly. So you just got to be ready.
Excuse me, Dalton has a question.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we prepare ourselves to be a real estate agent?
So here in Ohio, again, Dalton, you'll have to go to school. And when you're in school, you'll have about 80 hours here in a classroom that you have to attend. Don't quote me on those hours too, Dayton. It's been a couple of years since I took my license, but you go and they prepare you for your test. Okay. And then once you have your test taken and then you pass your test, a good broker, because when you're an agent, you work for a broker. So that broker determines where they're willing to help you start out and not. Some agents could say, I just want to work with buyers, and some say, I just want to work with sellers. You can actually specialize in one or the other, but I say, don't limit yourself. Go do both, because that's the best way to learn. And be open to criticism. Find somebody that does the job really, really good. Go shadow that person and do what they do, because they got successful for that reason. So just mimic what they are and you'll be successful too.
We have a couple more hands up. So
Okay.
Tatiana or Tati, I'm guessing that's Tatiana.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
I was wondering, do you have to travel a lot while you're a real estate agent?
So I just travel here in Ohio. I could possibly have another license in another state, but that would cost me the travel. And you only get paid as an agent once you sell a home. So you don't have a constant paycheck coming in every 2 weeks like other jobs do as well. So that's something to keep in mind too when you're a real estate agent. If you need a certain amount of money to do, a lot of agents do it part-time. I don't recommend it, but some do. And so the only travel you would do within was wherever you're licensed within that territory. Do we have another question?
I think that is it. So
Okay.
can I just ask one question though, in case nobody asked this yet? Do you have to go to college to be a real estate agent?
You don't. If you're going to be a broker here in Ohio, you do need a degree, but not as an agent. So your hours are only whatever your state mandates.
All right.
And then pass your test.
Very
Awesome.
awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Miss Duddy, you're muted. I think she was saying something too. You're still muted, Miss Duddy.
I'm sorry. Thank you,
Sorry.
Bethany. Have a great day.
You
We
too.
appreciate you coming and joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
So we have 2 minutes until our beekeeper.
All right, let me check the waiting room.
Hi, this is showing up as Christy, but this is Samantha and Benjamin Courtney.
Oh, okay.
And we were trying to make the real estate.
So for those of you who still have your video on, I'm going to go ahead and stop your video. We only want the hosts to have the video on right now, even though I'd love to see your beautiful faces. We got to keep bandwidth down. Okay. So, yes, so we have the beekeeper coming in just a few minutes. Jalissa, was your hand still up from the presentation?
No, it's not on today.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, but it's not really important right now. But I was gonna say, Miss Duddy, do you have a cat? Because I see a little cat thing in the background.
I do. I have 3, black cats.
Wow.
You know, I
And
remember one time.
they are all rescue cats. 2 of them we rescued from a shelter, and one we literally rescued from the
Streets?
well, it was not the streets, but actually in the middle of the woods up in Georgia.
Wow.
She lost her
I think
mommy,
it
Aw.
and she was stranded all by herself. She was 5 weeks old, and she was just squealing like a little pig. So my husband picked her up and brought her home, and I just fell madly in love with her.
I went to Georgia before for a dog too. My cousins came with me. We got a dog. We got a dog from Poodle Party.
Oh,
I got one that was Goose, and then my cousin got Guy, but they named it Remy. Remy.
lots of people say they have cats. Lots of a couple people say they have black cats. So he's got a black cat, and so Tati has a black cat.
My mom said she doesn't like cats. And my
Oh. People don't.
All right.
That's why I don't have cats, because my husband doesn't like them. So otherwise, I'd have them. Really quickly, Bella, you had your hand up. Did you have a question, hon?
Yeah, is this going to be the only one since it said the first quarter on the email, or is it going to be like
We're gonna
more?
have another one. We're gonna have another one. At least one more this year. So with some different speakers. So yeah, great question. So with that being said, Miss Study, I'm gonna pass the controls back to you.
Wonderful.
And just making sure no one else came in. Is our beekeeper already here?
Yes, he is.
Okay, so let me just hand this back over to you, and then we will get going.
All right.
Okay, there we go.
All righty. Hopefully we'll be able to hear this. Please let me know if you can hear it.
Okay. I don't hear.
It's actually just music.
I don't hear any music right now.
Oh.
Neither do I.
Can you hear this?
I think you need to share your audio.
Oh, somebody's saying I need to share my audio.
Do you know how to do that? Do you know how to tell her how to share her audio?
The same place, there you go.
I think you have, when you're opening the video, then you probably have options on what
Share
to do.
sound. You're so right. Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Miss Fanning, our children are so smart.
They're so smart.
Okay, let me do this again. I'm going to start from the beginning. Give me a thumbs up if we're good, okay?
Hi, my name is Sean Gardner, and I'm an apiarist in the mountains of Virginia. It means that we have hives. You can see here we have 4 hives. We have 2 Langstroth hives over there. The farthest one down is our oldest, and we have 2 flow hives. We haven't made any money yet, but our plan is, because this was our first year we had bees, and you have to let the bees get established, and you've got to let them build up enough honey that they are able to sustain themselves over the course of the winter, because that's what they eat. But ultimately, our goal is to be able to harvest honey from this site and from a site on the other side of the mountain and sell it locally because local honey has amazing health benefits for allergies and for so many other things, because these bees travel 4 miles around this area collecting 4 things. They collect water, they collect nectar, they collect pollen, and they collect sap or resin. That's the only 4 things that they're out doing. And they come back and they're able to sort of work as a colony to sustain themselves. And other things that people make money with bees, or other ideas that people have about making money with bees, is things that are made out of wax, different soaps, different candles, because the bees, through a couple different processes, create wax. They make wax, and that's what they form the cells out of, and that's what they put the honey into and trap it for their brood, for the overwintering. And beekeepers scrape that wax off, and they use that wax to form different things to sell. You may see at farmers markets beeswax candles or beeswax soap or a bunch of other different beeswax products. And that's another way that you can make money. You can also raise queens. You can grow queens and sell just queens, and that's another money-making way for beekeepers to support their habit of beekeeping. We've not done it yet, but hopefully we're going to be selling nukes next year, which is essentially you take a hive, you grow a queen, and you put that queen in a smaller, essentially, hive. It's a box, a cardboard box with 5 frames, and you take 5 frames of bees and brood and wax and honey, and you sell that sort of mini hive. And those can run up to $190, $200, or we can package up the bees, 3 pounds of bees in a small wire box that you can mail through the US mail. We've purchased those, we've not sold any, but we've purchased them for $140, $130, another really great way to make money. But there are some things that you have to watch out for, like bear attacks. We had a bear attack 2 nights ago. We had to come out and re-strap these down. They were all askew. We're lucky that we've got things concreted in and strapped in, but the bear wanted in the honey, and they wanted in the larva. And so we've got to make sure that we are protecting the bees from the bears. That's why we have some wire fencing around here. We protect the bees from mites. Right now there's what's called apivar in each of these 4 hives because it treats for varroa mites, which is truly one of the biggest threats to the honeybee population. But not only is it a money-making venture, it's also doing something good for the planet. It's doing something good for the environment, because honeybees are so threatened these days that the more help that they can receive, the better. And we're proud to be able to help in any small way. You can see I'm standing out here without a suit on, just my veil, because the bees are pretty calm right now. But let me tell you something. One of the risks to people is that, unlike chickens, which we also have, they won't attack you when you're trying to help them. Because this summer we went through 2 weeks of what's called dearth, which means they couldn't find anything to eat. And they were mad. Mad. So you've got to learn how to listen to your bees. You have to learn their different personalities. Each one of these hives have different personalities. It's an incredibly fun educational process. The more you learn, the more you want to learn. And so hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea into how you can make money with bees, but also do some good. Good luck.
Wow. Very good. We have Sean Gardner. We have Sean Gardner on. Hi, Sean, Mr. Gardner.
How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Great.
Can you tell us a little bit more about, share a little bit more about your, first of all, I like your Steelers jersey.
I knew you would. Can I just say something really quickly?
Yes.
I've just been in here for a couple minutes. My students are on the other side of this wall. I have 8th grade students on the other side of this wall, and they could learn a lesson or two from the way that you guys are all participating in the chat. I'm incredibly impressed with your questions and your feedback and your comments. But to talk about how to make money. I shared a couple of ideas in that video, and there are some other ideas that you can use to make money by being an apiarist or keeping bees. And one of the more unusual ways is to provide pollinator services. So literally, I could take my hives to an apple farm or some sort of vegetable farm or different strawberry patches in the area and pollinate their crops at the beginning of the year. It's an incredibly lucrative, money-making part of being a beekeeper. There are some beekeepers who sell their advisory services. So the biggest tool, the most important tool in keeping bees is having a mentor. It's more important than anything else. And there are some mentors who sell their services and make a good deal of money helping new beekeepers. There are some beekeepers who sell equipment, different beekeeping equipment. There are some beekeepers who make hives and sell hives. There are a lot of beekeepers who are in the market for homemade hives instead of the mass-produced hives, or homemade frames that go in the hives. And those are incredibly expensive, and people can make a lot of money doing that. But I mentioned yesterday, and maybe I can go into a little bit more detail, the selling of queens. And it's an amazing thing because a beekeeper can literally grow from a larva 10 or 12 queens in one hive. And it's still operating on, it still has its own queen, it still has its workers and its drones, but inside that hive, you can grow 12 queens, and you take that piece out and you harvest those queens, you put them in little cages with some worker bees, and the worker bees take care of them. And those can be mailed and sold anywhere around the world. In fact, there are some beekeepers who all they do is raise queens, and they sell all over the world. It's an amazingly lucrative part of being a beekeeper as well. I watched a documentary that highlighted two really cool things. One was a man who does nothing but provide those pollinator services across the country. He has semi trucks full of hives, and he starts in California and he works his way east, hitting different orchards and different farms and different pieces along the way. Almonds is what he pollinates first in California and makes a ton of money with that. But in that documentary, there was also a sad piece. They showed China and how they pollinate things in China because they have no honeybees. Their bee population has been completely exterminated because of the chemicals in the air. And so they have to hand pollinate every single thing that grows in China. So people's jobs are to hand pollinate everything.
Wow, that's quite a job.
Yep.
Wow. So we have a lot of cute puns in the chat room. I'm not sure if we always buy our natural honey from the same bees because they always give us their swarm wishes. That was funny, Isabella. Excuse me. You believe it. And what was the first one? The first one, oh, you should be careful, Christian. Okay, Dalton has his hand up. Thank you for sharing so much information, Sean.
Absolutely.
Dalton, you want to share your question?
Yeah. Are you a zoologist or a bee expert?
I'm not a zoologist, and I wouldn't call myself a bee expert. I just started in early April. I'm actually an 8th grade English teacher, and I do this on the side. And next year we're hoping to make our first money because you can't really do anything with bees in the first year. You need to let them get settled. You need to let them build up their hives and build up their stocks of honey so that they can overwinter. So hopefully next year we'll be making some money at local farmers markets.
Okay.
Very nice. Excuse me. How did you get your do you have a mentor, and how did you get your mentor?
I have a mentor, and I just was speaking with her. She's a substitute teacher here at our school, and I was talking with her at the beginning of last year's school year, and she was just sharing her experiences, especially with chickens. And so we bonded over chickens. And then I learned about the bees, and she has bees, and I asked her to bring some pieces in, and she brought a hive in, and she brought, or a box, a deep box that was empty, obviously, with some frames in it. And the more we spoke about it, the more interested I became. I've always been interested in keeping bees. But it was funny, my principal at the time, well, he still is my principal, but he became interested by talking to me. And so we both got hives together at the same time last April, or this April.
Very good. Okay, so you're kind of learning together.
Yep.
Ethan, your hand is up.
I have a question on how you acquire the bees.
Good question. So it was crazy because our first package, my mentor went down to North Carolina, and she brought up this box about this big, and it was a wooden box, and on both sides it had screens, and inside were 12,000 bees, 3 pounds of bees. And I had to take them from her car and put them in my Jeep and drive home with these bees buzzing. And it was my first interaction with bees. The second time we got bees, we ordered them in the mail. They actually came in the mail. I ordered chickens in the mail as well. 10 little chicks came in a little box in the US mail. But we got our bees in the mail for our second hive. The last 2 hives, we went to a beekeeper in the area who sells nukes, these small hives, and we bought those nukes. But a funny story, the first nuke that we brought home in the cab of a truck, and there was a hole in the nuke. And so bees were flying all around me as I was driving down the road. I wouldn't recommend that.
Wow.
We did have someone, Ms. Steady, I think it was Connor, said that bees are endangered. Is that correct, Mr. Gardner?
They are in danger, but they're coming back. There was some real scares some years ago, but they're starting to come back. The biggest threat to bees are chemicals and mites. Surprisingly, these mites are tiny little things that sort of do some damage in the body of the bee, and the hive will collapse. But hopefully more and more people will become interested in becoming beekeepers and do our part.
Very good. Do we have enough time, Ms. Fanning, for any other questions?
I think we could take one, maybe 2 more if they're quick. So Zoe or Dewan. How about Zoe? You want to pop on your mic really quickly?
Okay.
There we go. That's fine.
I want to know, is there any sort of like professional training that you got to go through?
That's a great question.
That is a great question, and no. Well, there are courses and there are classes, and we've got a local bee organization that provides, some are free, some are not free, courses for new beekeepers. But the overwhelming majority of beekeepers learn on their own with their mentors, learn through experiencing things on their own, and doing a lot of research. The more I researched, the more I learned, the more I learned that I needed to learn more. So it was, I'm still learning, obviously, and I'll continue to learn for a long time to come. But the majority of them, Duana, are probably people who start out on their own and lean on their mentors and get it done.
Zoe wants to know if there are any types of bees that are poisonous.
The poisonous bees, they're all poisonous.
Okay.
Because they all have, a certain amount of honeybees. Honeybees, when they sting you, they lose their stinger and they die. So unlike other bees that may sting you and be able to sting you again, they give you everything at one time. And so that's why it's a little bit dangerous. I saw somebody ask about different types of honey. Honeybee, literally, I could have those 2 hives that you saw at the end, the square hives. One could make honey that is primarily made from one type of plant and tastes completely different than the hive right next to it. So there really aren't 2 hives that produce the same type of honey or the same taste of honey.
Oh, I didn't know that. The other question is, this is really important. What will happen if bees do disappear?
If bees disappear, it's estimated that anywhere from 25 to 40% of our food would be inaccessible.
So we need bees.
So we need bees. And
Wow.
we need to be friends to bees. So I know there are a lot of people that are afraid of bees. Let me tell you something, that a honeybee's only job when it's outside of the hive is to find one of those 4 things that I said. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about you at all. If it lands on you, it's just looking for one of those 4 things. It's not going to sting you unless you provoke it.
All right. All right, very good. Well, gosh, it's we have a political commentator, Mr. Gardner, that's coming on soon, and we don't want to run over that person's time, but it surely is wonderful for you to come and share your story with us.
Thank you for having me, and good luck to you all.
Yes, thank you. So many questions. I'm so sorry, guys. Maybe we can look at some of these questions and reach out to Mr. Gardner and do a follow-up for you all who didn't get your questions answered.
That's such a great idea, Miss Fanning. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Fanning. Thank you, Ms. Duddy.
All right, Mr. Gardner, have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye, kids.
Bye-bye. We have our political commentator ready to roll, Miss Fanning, whenever you are.
Okay, yep. Let me just check the waiting room really quickly. I admitted 1 person, and then I'll turn it back over to you. Okay. That's it, it looks like. So.
And let me find. Uh-oh. All right, whenever you're ready, I'm ready.
Okay.
Now that the children taught me how to share with
sound.
audio.
Yeah, we're not used to Zoom, kids. We're all in the Teams now.
All right, that's right. So thank you for giving me the screen, and I will share my sound. Here we go. Maybe.
Chris, how can people belong to a party that not only hates you, but embraces people who hate you? I mean, that's...
Well, no, that's a great thing. Like this Tim Ryan ad, you know, they're trying to reach out to like rural Democrats. Like, here's the thing. I live on top of a mountain on the West Virginia border. Rural Democrats don't exist anymore. And that's not because they turned their back on the Democratic Party.
Because you killed them.
It's because the Democratic Party not only doesn't care about rural America, they've demonized rural America. Like, Tim Ryan can spend all the money in the world chasing rural Democratic voters. It'll be the same thing that Republicans did for 20 years chasing Reagan Democrats.
Right.
The fact is, until there's a sea change in the Democratic Party and they stop demonizing rural America, there will not be a rural person who votes for their party.
All right. Mr. Barron, how are you today?
Howdy. I am fantastic. By the way, that whole little video montage that you just showed makes me long for the pre-pandemic days when I actually got to go to New York regularly to actually do TV.
So you don't do TV now. How are you making things work?
Well, so I'm as is the I know has been the case for so many school kids all across the country during the pandemic. Life for me is somebody who goes on TV to talk about his opinions, which I know, by the way, is a weird concept to begin with, but I'll get to that in just a second. Life for me has changed. Most of those pictures you just saw were pictures of me in New York, at Fox News, at Fox Business, at CNN, going on TV, talking about news of the day, interacting with my fellow commentators and the hosts. Unfortunately, most of that ended during the pandemic, and we started doing a lot of it here via Zoom from home. So I was just on Kennedy on Fox Business this week, and the screen you're looking at here with my hockey stick behind me and my Superman comic in the back. That's exactly what people at home watching me on Fox Business saw, because I was doing it from here in my basement, which is definitely a little different. So I'll do something kind of a little weird here for a second. I'm going to give you guys a look behind the curtain. So when I'm on TV, this is what people are seeing. They're saying like, hey, this guy's sitting there, he's talking to us. I'm sure he's in some sort of like home studio. Well, the truth is I'm in my basement. So I'll give you guys a look around real quick so you guys got an idea of what we're talking about here. So here in my basement, I don't know if you guys, can you see the Pac-Mans over there?
What are those video games?
Yeah, I've got Pac-Man, I've got Mrs. Pac-Man. So yeah, like this is not your traditional like studio setup that I would have at Fox News and Fox Business. And so just to me, and I'm sure maybe I'm not the only one, it's kind of weird, the idea of somebody going on TV and getting paid to talk about something or having an opinion, because frankly, like all of us talk, that's what we do all day. And all of us have opinions. So it certainly seems weird to go on TV and get paid to tell people what your opinion is. Sometimes, people agree with me. Sometimes people disagree with me. I think one of the great things about having the opportunity to go on TV and share your opinion is getting the opportunity to influence so many people. Some of the best compliments I've ever gotten are from people who've told me, you want to know what, I disagree with where you stand on things, but I thought you were really persuasive. I really appreciated the way that you talked about it. Hell, my own mom told me one time, she's like, I can't stand Trump, but every time I hear you talk about Trump, I like him more. So I took that as like an incredible compliment that somehow, even though somebody didn't like the political position that I had, actually I did a good enough job on TV of sounding reasonably intelligent and making the case in the most compelling way that they actually, kind of agreed with me more by the end. I didn't start off planning to go into being a political commentator. I got involved in politics at a very, very young age. Some of the first campaigns I worked on were when I was 10, 11, and 12 years old, volunteering at the local party headquarters. I'd be the person who they would drive around in the back of a flatbed pickup truck and jump out and put signs in people's front yards. I'd be the guy when they were having fundraisers who'd be standing at the door to take women's coats or to open the door for them or show people to their table. And I stayed active in politics all throughout high school and college and law school. And I went to law school, graduated from law school, and planned to practice law. And I tell people all the time, I liked practicing law. I didn't love it. And for me, it's impossible to do something that I only like and not love. And so I ended up going back to my first love, which is politics. So I went back to politics. I started working professionally in Washington, D.C., ended up getting promoted some more, started writing some. And the next thing you know, I was being asked to come on to TV to share my opinions. And that then became an important part of what I do for a living. And I will say that in this day where so many people feel so strongly about things and fight so hard with each other about things, one of the things that I truly appreciate about going on TV, and one of the things I miss about being there in person, is that before you go on TV, you're in something called the green room, which they put all the guests together and we all sit in the green room and wait for them to come and bring us out on stage. And in the green room, it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or a libertarian or liberal or conservative, if you like Trump, hate Trump, everybody in the green room gets along. Everybody's drinking coffee and eating cookies and having a good time. And so I hope that the same kind of camaraderie that we political commentators have with each other when we go on air, we can disagree and fight with each other on air and then go out afterwards and have coffee and laugh together. I hope it's something that every person recognizes that they can do in their life. It's perfectly, I hope everybody has strong opinions. Believe in whatever you believe in, but understand that other people can have different opinions and that you should respect those people's opinions, even if you disagree with them.
Wow. Does it make you nervous when other people disagree with you?
No, not at all. I mean, I am, I think it speaks volumes about how comfortable you are in your own beliefs. If somebody challenges me on something that I believe, I can talk endlessly about it because I believe it. That's how I believe, you know? And so it doesn't make me nervous. Like, quite the contrary. If anything, it kind of gets me excited.
Wow. Wow. Aaliyah thinks that that's amazing. Hey, there's a couple people with some hands up. Ms. Fanning, do you think we should take some questions?
Yes, we have a couple minutes. So let's go ahead and turn over. I see Dalton. We'll start with you, Dalton. You want to go ahead and you can pop your mic on and go ahead and ask what you were going to ask.
Chris Barron, do you like comic books?
I love comic books. I have my, I've got my Superman Fortress of Solitude comic behind me. Growing up, I was a big DC Comics fan. I love Flash. I love Green Lantern. So I remain a comic book fan to this day.
Along that same line, Ethan asked a little earlier what your high score is on Miss Pac-Man.
I actually don't know. I have a neighbor of mine who he got the Miss Pac-Man first. So I no longer have the high score on my own machine because he came over and ruined it by by showing me up and getting the highest score on Miss Pac-Man. So I really need to take some time to getting back to my Miss Pac-Man and taking back the high score for myself.
Yeah. Sounds like you've probably been working too hard. You need to do a little bit more playing with those video games. Jalen has there's quite a few hands up. Jalen has a hand up. Jalen, you want to ask your question? We can't hear you, Jalen. Oh my. Okay, so very good, very good. Thanks for sharing with us, Jalen. Jaleesa, do you have a question, Jaleesa? Your hand is up.
Do you play hockey?
Oh,
I do play hockey. I do play hockey.
That's awesome. Somebody asked, what do you have to do to become a commentator? I think you may have answered that, but
no, yeah, I mean, like, so, I mean, one is, you know, like I said, I got involved in politics at a young age. I encourage everybody to get involved in something that they care about, whether it is a political issue or a social issue or an environmental issue. Like, if there's something that you care about, get involved and make a difference and stick with it and you know, stand by the things that you believe in. that for me, like I said, that's where it all started. It all started with being the guy who went and volunteered at 10 or 11 years old to put signs in people's front yards in political races as a kid. And it's kind of crazy where things have ended up, but it was been fun.
So it's definitely not too late for anybody to make their jump into something political then.
No, and by the way, the great, so like I grew up, we didn't have social media, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have Rumble, we didn't have all of these sites. It's amazing how many young people I see today who are able to share their beliefs on social media platforms. It's like I said, I didn't have that chance as a young person. You know, we were expected to kind of pay our dues, do the grunt work that other people didn't want to do. But that's one of the great things about technology is it's given people all across the world, regardless of age, regardless of their backgrounds, regardless of where they are, like giving them the opportunity to have a platform and to speak up and be heard and speak about issues that they care about.
A good question is how did you get your name out there? Just being.
I mean, like I said, honestly, it was years and years of working in politics, on political campaigns, for political organizations, and just I honestly kind of dumbed into it. I was actually working for an organization, and my boss was supposed to be the person who did the media primarily, and he was super booked one day, and they asked me if I would do, of all things, Australian radio, and I'd never done any media whatsoever. And I thought, well, the good thing is Australian radio, so nobody will hear me if I screw up. But I did it and I really liked it. And later my boss came to me and was like, you did a really great job, Chris. You should be doing more of this. So
nice. Ms. Fanning, do we have more time for any other questions?
Yeah, let's take a couple more because our next speaker is the last one and he's not quite logged in yet. So we have a couple minutes.
Do you travel to different states to be on TV? That's a good question.
Yeah, before the pandemic, I definitely did. Before the pandemic, and I still travel sometimes to New York to do Gutfeld, which I'm going to be doing next week. So if anybody wants to watch Fox News, at 11:30 on Thursday night, I'll be on Gutfeld. But yeah, I traveled more in the past pre-pandemic to do TV. Less so since the pandemic started. So hopefully now that things are improving some, hopefully I'll get back to traveling a little more.
Great. Dewan, do you want to ask your question?
Yes. Do you have kids?
I do not. I do not have kids. I have dogs.
Okay.
How many dogs do you have? Oh, you have 4 dogs.
I have 4 dogs. Kids would probably be easier. I have 4 dogs, and they're poorly behaved.
Aliyah. Do you have a question, sweetheart?
Yes. Mr. Chris, what's your favorite things to do?
My favorite things to do? Play hockey. I mean, honestly, my favorite thing in the world is to play hockey. I love to listen to, I used to love to read, but then because I had to do so much reading for work, I kind of lost interest in reading so much. But now I listen to a lot of books on tape, Audible books. And so I love doing that. I'm the king of working in my yard or cleaning the house and I'm listening to a book. So I love that. I think that counts as reading a book, even if I'm just listening. I love that though.
Definitely. Jaleesa, do you have a question?
No.
Okay.
Do I have my hand raised?
Yeah, your hand is raised, sweetheart. And then there's somebody with, that's okay. Somebody with the student number with 8433 at the end. I'm not sure your name.
What's it like being a commentator?
It's fun. I mean, it's fun. It's weird. It's weird because I'm sitting there and I'm having a conversation with people that I know, and there's a couple million people watching on the other side of a television set, which is, it can be, it's odd because sometimes we forget, especially when we're on set together, sometimes we forget that we're really on TV. It's just, and that's kind of the best banter, the best conversation is when we forget we're on TV and we're just talking to each other. But it is weird later, especially I have occasionally had people come up to me and say like, oh, I saw you on Fox News on the street. And that's weird. Like, I'm like, really?
So the funny thing is, children, that I am just Mrs. Duddy, the 5th grade teacher, but I have been so lucky to have had at one point in time watching Chris on television and then him coming up from the basement and pulling the turkey out of the oven. Chris is my brother-in-law, so it is funny to actually be at his house watching him on national television when he's downstairs and we're trying to keep the dogs quiet. So, that's funny.
Okay, we have our next speakers here. Maybe we'll wrap up with one more question. I know we still have some hands, and again, just like with the beekeeper guys, we can maybe reach out to Mr. Barron with some questions that didn't get answered. But let's go ahead and have Dewan. Did you want to go ahead and ask the final question, hon?
Oh no, ma'am, I just left my hand raised on accident.
Okay, what about Dalton?
What kind of dogs do you have? I have 6 pit bulls and a well-trained king.
Wow, I've got two Siberian Huskies. I have a miniature dachshund, and I have a 15-and-a-half-year-old dachshund corgi. So it's a madhouse around my house, and it's the Huskies. They're like so high energy. All they want to do is run around all day long.
My grandfather used to have a husky.
They're great. They're great. They shed terribly. I can vacuum 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And still hair on the floor, but they're the sweetest dogs in the entire world.
All right, very good. Chris, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. If there's any questions, feel free to send them my way.
We will do that. We'll do that for sure.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
All right, so next up, guys, we have our final guest speaker, who is Tyler Rain, and he is a fire captain. And so, Tyler, if you want to go ahead and pop your video and your mic on.
All right, I think I'm on.
There we go. And just tell us a little bit about what you do, what made you interested in taking this route, what you had to do to get here, so on and so forth, and then we'll open it up for questions.
All right. So I'm obviously not as good as a public speaker as our last guest, but I'll try the best that I can do. This is actually, I think, my 2nd time doing a Zoom meeting. So because of the nature of our job, everything, even though everyone else shuts down, we still have to be on the streets, and we still have to respond to emergencies, and we still have to keep things going behind the scenes, so to speak. But it's not to discount what anyone else is doing. We feel very blessed to be able to still work and help others during this tough time for everyone. But I think what started for me, who was it? Is it Jalen? Yeah, we got that out, because I was going to wear that, and I was like, oh, maybe I better not wear that since I'm in uniform. But so I got a whole costume myself. I'm really into comics, but I grew up liking comic books as well. Always kind of wanted to be a superhero. I actually did acting at an art school and wanted to get into stunt work. So my parents told me that I needed a backup plan just in case I got hurt with stunt work. I went to fire school. My senior year, I took emergency medical technician. So by the time I graduated, I was done with that, and then started fire school and got hired on extremely quick at the age of 19. So my aspirations as a stuntman were done, and my career as a firefighter started. So I've been on 17 years now. And there is, I don't know, what else, Miss Fanning, what else?
So 17 years. So you did not have to go to college to be a fire captain. You just
correct.
went
That's
to fire
my
school.
favorite aspect of the job is if some of you guys, some of you guys may think, everyone's pushing college. I am a huge advocate for vocational schools. I think that you can make an amazing living if college is not the route you want to go. My wife, she went the college route, moved up in degrees. Me, not so much. I have 2 different associate's degrees, one in emergency medical medicine and another in fire and emergency services. And that was just to help me for promotional exams as I moved up the ranks. So to start out as a firefighter, at least in the state of Florida, you need EMT, which is emergency medical technician, which is usually about a 3 to 4 month class. And then fire school, which is almost like a boot camp, not quite as strict as a military boot camp, but they throw everything at you. It's sink or swim. And I would say 60 to 70% of the people will graduate. So there's a physical agility test to even get into the class. There's lots of physical aspects to it during the class, and you still have to sorry, I just saw a question. Have you ever gotten badly hurt? Just my feelings. I've been
all.
Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate. Really the only bad injury I've had was a hernia, and that was lifting somebody. But I'd like to say it was, lifting someone out of a fire, but no, it wasn't. It was just lifting somebody who needed medical assistance, and ended up hurting myself doing that. But I am extremely fortunate to have not gotten hurt. There's been a few close calls. One of the buildings I came out of collapsed about, I'd say, a minute and a half, 2 minutes after we got out. So we have several protocols that we go by, and if we start hearing, if you're inside doing firefighting interior operations and it's really loud, there's a lot of chaos, you can't see anything. If you start hearing horn blasts, that means get out. So we started hearing repeated horn blasts. We sort of stopped. We're trying to figure out, is that what we think it is? Yep. And so we pulled out, and shortly thereafter the roof collapsed, and that was a good thing. But there are no, there was nobody in the building when it collapsed, thank goodness. But also we did a couple high-rise fires in Jacksonville, lots of apartment fires, like horn blasts are on our fire engines. When you hear the loud horn to get you off the road, to move out of the way for us, that's what horn blasts are. They'll repeatedly hit it over and over, so that, yeah, exactly, the beep beep. Go ahead, what's your question, Jalen? Hit what? From Nyla? I'm not sure how these the horn. What did they hit? Oh, when I say hit the horn, I mean they were just activating the horn so that you'll hear lots of horn blasts. Yes. So we respond to fire, and yeah, me too. We respond to many medical calls, fire calls, car wrecks, extrications, we call them. And currently I serve in the Marine Rescue Division. So I'm the captain of the downtown fireboat. So we respond to marine emergencies on the water. So If there's a boat fire, we just had a tugboat fire last night. We had, luckily there were no souls on board. Connor, and each day, it's usually, there's more fires during the winter because people are turning on their heaters and space heaters. So as far as fire goes, it's a lot busier during the winter time than it is during the summer. But July the 4th is usually firework issues.
Really quickly, Tyler, we have a couple people with raised hands. So why don't, Jawan, you said you wanted to turn on your mic and ask a question. Go ahead. You turn on your mic.
Okay. What was the the biggest fire you've seen?
We had a third alarm, which was 60 separate apartment buildings. And we actually pulled a woman and her children out of the window for that one. Mostly everybody else were able to get out. We were able to rescue a few dogs, but there were 60 individual units that were, you could see, it was in the Arlington area, and you could see the flames at night from anywhere in Jacksonville. It was pretty impressive.
Okay, what about Bella? Did you have a question? You can turn your mic on.
Yes. Do cigarettes start most of the fires when people throw them out their car windows?
They start lots of brush fires. Those happen all the time. It's so frustrating to see someone throw their cigarettes out, especially when we haven't had rain in a while, and they throw it on pine needles or dead grass. And next thing you know, a couple acres are engulfed in fire and flames, and we have to go pull our hose, extend hose all through the woods, and use foam to soak it down so that it permeates below the surface, so it keeps it from smoldering.
Wow. So don't do that, kids. Don't smoke in the first place.
Exactly.
Janaya, go ahead. You can ask your question, sweetie.
Okay. If you didn't become a firefighter, what job would you have done next after that?
What I wanted to do was become a stuntman and get into stunt work for motion pictures. So I used to do, still kind of practice martial arts, gymnastics. I actually used to break dance competitively. So
how interesting.
Yeah, so we had a crew, and we would go around and compete up and down the East Coast and try to win money.
Wow. This is a great question. Is there such a thing as a junior firefighter, and how can we join?
Yes, we have a Fire Explorer program in the city of Jacksonville. And what that does is it allows you to come and ride. Pre-COVID, we have to wait until things settle down a little more. So you get an authorization from your parents, and then you get an authorization from the chief, and that allows you to come ride. There's certain programs that you can do during it that teaches you about fire safety. You also get, I think, volunteer hours as well for if you're trying to do any kind of scholarship for something like that. We don't, Roxy, no, we do not just fight fires. We do, like I said, medical calls. We do car wrecks. We do drownings. We do really, if you can name it, we do it.
Domestic disputes and stuff.
And no, I'm not. Yes, we have to be always ready for an alert of a fire. So we have a firehouse that we live at, and we spend 24 hours a day there. Some departments do 24 on, 42 off. Some departments do 48 on, 48 off. Our department does 24 on, 48 off. So we spend a third of our life So I'll go on shift in the morning at 7 a.m. and I'll come home, or I'll get off at 7 a.m. Hopefully, if my relief is good.
I I love the question, whether or not you have a pole in the fire house. Do you slide down?
Not at our station. There are still several downtown stations that have the pole. They're trying to get away from that because this is crazy. Well, it's not crazy, but you would, because the fire station is considered a public building, anytime you build a second story, you have to provide a elevator because of Americans with Disabilities Act. So even though it's only servicing us, there has to be a way for someone in a wheelchair to go up and down the fire station. So they're trying to shy away from building 2-story fire stations. They still have in the past. Usually they'll do it to keep the aesthetics of, do I eat fast food a lot? No, I don't. I try not to. We cook. So we have a cook day. We have a cook rotation. So our crew, when it's your time to cook, you cook breakfast and dinner and you provide it, you bring it in, and then you're on a rotation. So after every, go ahead.
I was gonna ask if you guys had the pole too.
I can't hear you.
I think she was going to ask if you had a pole also.
We have a flagpole.
And some of the one of the other children are asking if you have Dalmatians, those black and white dogs.
No, we don't. We do not have a Dalmatian. There sometimes might be someone that brings their dog with them, but it's all contingent on the individual and if they have approval from the chief to bring that dog.
I think this is pretty interesting question, and I'm not sure. There must be a reason. Ethan wants to know if you've ever had a fire involving magnesium.
Magnesium, yes. We have to use a special type of extinguisher because it's water reactive. So if we just go spraying water on magnesium, it'll explode. So we have what's called
Ethan has some knowledge.
I've never known that, Ethan. How smart.
Miss Manning, I did not know that either. That's why I asked the question, because I'm thinking, Ethan must have something he knows about.
Wow. We have some people asking if there's a shower in the fire station, like if you're.
No, we're just stinky all day. Yes, we have showers.
Oh, wow.
We have, there's a formula that they usually give. It's like 2 showers per 2 individuals, because if we get back from a fire, one of the most important things they're learning to do to help cancer prevention is you need to sweat and rinse off all the carcinogens. So as you're sweating, your pores open up. And what that does is it allows the carcinogens to get into your skin. Well, whenever you're done sweating and you get back to the station, now your skin has wrapped around those carcinogens and it's seeping into your body and it's giving you cancer. So having a shower is dual reasoning. Is the first is to clean yourself, and the second is to open your pores up with a really hot shower and try to get some of those carcinogens out. A lot of more progressive fire departments have steam rooms. So after a fire, you'll go and sit in a steam room so your pores open up, and then you'll hop in a shower and rinse all of it out as much as possible.
Wow, that's cool. Oh, cool. We have a lot more hands raised too. Let me try to go in order, or I don't know if some of you didn't put your hand down. If you already raised your hand and you meant to put your hand down, just go and press the raise hand button again and it'll go down. Zoe, let's start with you. I see your hand's been up for a little while. Oh, Zoe typed it. Have there been any fires with a potassium explosion?
Yeah, there was a banana plant. And no, I'm just kidding. I'm sure there have. I can't think of anything recently in our department that specifically pertain to potassium. But you know, calcium, potassium, magnesium are the 3 ingredients that are important for your heart health. So if one of them's off, it'll throw you into arrhythmias.
Okay, what about, let me see, Dalton, you had your hand up?
Yes. Have you ever rescued a cat from a tree?
Yes, several times.
Have you really?
Yes.
That's a good question, Dalton.
Yeah. Well, we have to put bunker coats and gloves on because they're usually not happy.
Okay, let's see. I'm not sure who's student 8433 ending in 8433. Guys, if you want to go ahead.
Have you ever dealt with explosions while trying to put out a fire?
Yes, that as well several times. It's pretty scary. A lot of times with car fires, the expansion on your tires. So, you know, whenever there's pressure inside an object, it builds up. And as that pressure builds up, it's got nowhere to go. And eventually, whatever's holding that pressure in explodes. So it's happened, it's called a BLEVE, a boiling, well, with LP, it's called a BLEVE, which is a boiling liquid expansion vapor explosion. And with LP tanks, there should be a certain amount of liquid petroleum in there. And if it gets up a certain amount and it heats up faster than the relief valve can let it out, it'll explode and go out the ends and explode in that direction. So anytime we're fighting a house fire, we always have somebody try to do a primary search around the exterior of the building to look for hazards like that. Because if we're fighting a fire in the front and there's an LP tank in the back and we don't know it, the thing could explode and level us.
Okay.
Yes, I have it.
Do you ever get breaks or eat food?
So because of us being on 24 hours, we essentially live at the station. So we have a routine that we do, which is always checking out the apparatus in the morning, making sure everything works. Then we have daily training. We have daily chores as far as cleaning the station, making sure everything is sanitary from the previous shift, because you don't know who or what they responded to. And then once you're done with that, if you do have downtime, you know, there's a little bit of downtime depending on the station you're at, and depending on who the officer is. Yes, there's a small fire truck behind me. I just threw that there.
Good observation.
I know. Christian, you had your hand up?
Yes. Have you ever teamed up with the police?
Yes, we work with the police a lot, and we like to pull pranks on them.
What kind of pranks?
Just silly things. Like we used to have a gas pump at our fire station, and the police would come in their squad cars, especially at night when they're getting off shift or coming on shift, and they would fill their squad car up with gas. Well, we knew that one of the police didn't like snakes, so we tied a rubber snake to a fishing line, and as he was filling up, we reeled the snake back across the apron, and it was a pretty funny sight, but he wasn't too happy.
That's funny.
Nice. Okay, Jalen, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Who is your favorite superhero?
Ooh, that's tough. It was Spider-Man for the longest time.
Because that's who I am for this Halloween.
Oh, you are? Cool.
Yeah, I'm the Miles Morales one.
Cool. Nice.
Nice. Okay, and guys, we just to respect Mr. Ring's time, we're gonna wrap up soon. I know some of you still have questions. Dalton, you said you had another question. Go ahead, hon.
Have you ever been arrested?
No, I have not. And that's one of the disqualifiers for being a firefighter, unfortunately, is if you have a criminal record, you cannot be a firefighter.
So anyone considering it, that is an important thing.
Yes.
Nyla's question is good. Did you ever see someone go to jail for making a fire?
Yes, several times.
Good. And then who do we have the student number again with a question? And that'll be our final question. Okay, guys? So student number 8433, ending in 8433.
Sorry, I didn't realize I had my hand.
Your hand up. That's okay. That's okay. Great. Well, oh, one more question I did want to ask, Tyler, is what did you have to, what does it entail? You're a fire captain, correct?
Yes.
So what are the opportunities for moving up like that? So if you start out as a firefighter.
Yeah, so everyone starts out as a firefighter. And from that rank, you move up to engineer. At engineer, it splits into two branches. It's the rescue or ambulance and combat or suppression. So I'm on the combat suppression side, which is the firefighting aspect. And then it goes lieutenant, captain, chief. And on the rescue side, lieutenant, captain, chief. But the rescue side is strictly ambulances. The combat and suppression side is fire engines that hold water, ladder trucks that have the large ladders and forcible entry, and our marine division, which is the fireboats, which is what I'm on currently.
Nice.
Nyla, no, I am not ever bored, because if there's, I tell the guys, if there's time to lean, there's time to clean. No, we try to stay sharp. So if there's downtime, we'll just practice something and train.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us
Yes.
today. And again, if we have follow-up questions, I may reach out to you and get those questions answered for the kids. But yeah, this is really
Yes,
great.
Landon, we a lot are not able to save people in time, unfortunately. And that's a rough aspect of the job, as well as some of the stuff you see and not being able to help everyone, because we all get in it to, yes, Nyla, it's a sobering thought. A lot of people spend their last minutes with us as you're trying to save them. No, I did not scream, but, and if you hold the hose that's big enough, yes, it will push you back and it can hurt you very badly.
And he's a captain. That's what his rank is. Who asked that?
Ethan.
Ethan.
Yep.
So, awesome. So thank you so much, you guys. Thank you, students, for coming. This was our last guest today. So
Yes.
thank you, Captain Ring, for joining us. And like I said, we'll follow up if there's any other questions. And otherwise, thank you for coming. Everyone have a great day.
What a great day. Thank you so much for
Are
staying
we
in.
gonna do this again?
Lantern lives again.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. I miss you till I see you again.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Bye.
Bye.